Nancy, thank you so much for coming here for the Drive to Succeed podcast. I believe it's actually the second time we're actually talking. The first time I met you was on the event that you spoke, I think way back in jail too with Spencer, yes?
Yes, the level up. It was with level up for confidence in presenting.
Yes, exactly. So the reason you're here today is to enlighten us about confidence and how can, people navigate these tough times, especially in the workplace, especially as women. We're going to talk about this kind of topics. So just to have a little bit context and background, Nancy, tell us who you are, what do you do, and, what's your background?
Absolutely. So hi, everybody, and I'm so grateful to be on your podcast. So I'm Dr. Nancy Haines, and I've been out here in Dubai for about 3 years now, from LA. So to anybody who's in the States or who's an American out here, because my goodness, I haven't been able to find a ton of Americans out here. So all is good, all is good. But yeah, my background is in human resources. So I have about 15 years of experience, but 8 of those years, I had my own HR consulting firm. Mm-hmm. So I got a little taste of corporate life and then, entrepreneurship, which I think a lot of us tend to not really understand that in mindset, mm-hmm. It does change from corporate to now you're running your own business. So that was my little shift that happened in LA. Mm-hmm. And then I came out here. I started actually tapping into confidence coaching from when I was getting coaching for myself. So I was getting just, it was that time when you feel stagnant. It's when you have that moment when you're like, I know there's something more to life, but I don't know what it is. Like it was this restlessness. Business was going great and everything else, but it was just something that was missing. And so my mentor began this nonprofit for women, and she invited me in to be on like her board of directors. And so I became the director of empowerment. And then I fell in love with the empowerment piece for women. And I focused on confidence in itself because a lot of the coaching that I received in like the few years that I had it, a lot of it went back into the lack of confidence that I had in myself, whether it was work, relationships, anything else, even myself, the view that I had of myself, it had a lot to do with it, and physically and mentally. So when I kind of pieced it all together and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I can talk about. I have experience in this, so now I can move forward. So I created the ebook for that particular purpose. Mm-hmm. And then it just took off. Like I started just randomly doing groups.
Is this in Amazon or something?
Yes, it is. It's on Amazon, Keys to Confidence. And yeah, so I started doing the groups. I did a group of cheerleaders I did in San Francisco. Some girl that, I don't know, she found me somehow, got in communication with me. And then I did the program for her group of girls. And then I did it for a group of financial analysts in Utah. So it just became like this thing that I was doing. And it was fun for me in the sense that it was fulfilling. And then, so when I made the move out here to Dubai, I was like, as much as I love doing human resources, one, because it's that human contact, yes, I was using the coaching in the HR management piece where I was, if people had issues, they were coming in to me and they're like, okay, this is the situation. How do I fix this? And then I ended up just doing the coaching along with the managers. And honestly, that was a part that I truly enjoyed and I thrived in. So I was like, boom, okay, this is what I want to do from now on. So yes, that's why I did it when I came out here.
Interesting. So just to track back, so you were in LA, you had your own HR consultancy and you were in HR yourself, and somehow just found out the love and passion working with professionals, how they manage probably their stress or some burnout in the workplace. And are you is that what I call a psychologist by trade, or?
No, you know what? I think a psychologist by like nature, because in human resources, I always was very curious as to why people behave the way they do. And so I think even with the coaching that I received, getting a lot of those tools, I was like, ooh, I could use that for so-and-so manager, or I could do that. So I was like piecing it all together, but in a sense, and I will say, I think that was where I thrived the most, was in employee relations. So I can honestly say I had probably one of my toughest clients, where I was traveling across the whole US. They gave me, it was a retail client, a luxury client. And I remember they opened up all across the US. So imagine, like, from LA to New York to Miami to Boston, it was like everywhere. And to be able to go visit each store and like basically dive in and like pinpoint everything, help them out, and then go to the next one. It was like the hardest, but it was also the most fulfilling. Because you see the impact that you have. And it was just by having that conversation. So anytime anybody had issues, they were like, send them to Nancy. Like, they're like, she's got it. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, let's do this.
So what are the common problems in terms of confidence? Because I believe confidence is something that you can learn. And confidence is something that you earn probably when you were, in childhood, or you were in school. Probably some bad experiences happened, so your confidence went down. Or probably you have some identity issues within yourself that if you're, trying to do something. I'm not a coach by trade, but, just working with people, I somehow found, this kind of stuff.
Yes. And you hit the nail on the head, I think, on a few points, which is, yes, you had it. And then at some point, something happened along the way that started molding you and shifting you in a different direction. And it doesn't even have to be anything traumatic. And I think that's what people like, oh, I've never had any trauma. Like, no. It doesn't have to be like this horrific thing that happened to you. It just has to be the one thing that shifted you. So like, for example, I always wanted to do like journalism and broadcasting and interviewing people. Yeah. And in my room, I was like, oh my God, I would love to do that. And I would like visualize it in my head. But then I remember telling my mom, like, oh my gosh, Mom, like, I really want to do like, journalism. And she immediately, like, no hesitation, was like, you're not good at that. You're very shy. And the moment she said that, it was like, as a child, you take that on as an identity. Yeah. Like, oh, that's right, I am shy. Like, duh, Nancy, what are you thinking? So, my safe route was, well, HR, I'm still dealing with, helping people and dealing with people. So I love that. Okay, I'll do that. So I did do that. But, that desire that you have, man, I wish I would have really done that. I mean, one simple comment immediately shifts you into like a whole nother direction. But then the identity piece, where you just said it all along, I was like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm shy. So yeah, that's how I was in school. I didn't really speak to anybody. I had a huge problem speaking to people, because it was that thing that you create in your head. So imagine if that comment when you're 12 affected you. Yeah. And now I'm like, like now you're like a grown ass person and you're like, okay, I can't even give a presentation because I go blank. That is an entire lifetime that the identity has completely transformed from one comment that was made.
And when was the time where you decided that, this is who I am, this is what I needed to do to shift from being the shy person into coming out and working with people? What is the catalyst and what does the transition look like?
Okay, so I knew I was always shy. So I've always known that. It was horrific. I couldn't ever figure out my voice. Like, what does that sound like? What does it feel like to have your own voice? So it wasn't until I decided to move away from home to another state. Yeah. And in class, like, I went 3 months without hanging out with anybody, because obviously it's a new place. I'm not, and that it was so hard for me to introduce myself to somebody. Like, the fear of rejection was like this huge monster. And I just couldn't do it until finally I hit my breaking point of, I'm getting depressed. I'm lonely. I'm in this new place. I don't talk to anybody. And like, why? Like, why am I doing this to myself? And I myself have known, like, okay, I need to do something about this. Nobody else is going to do it. So honestly, it was like every day from that day forward, like in class, I would turn around and if I saw somebody that even like remotely like made eye contact with me, I was like, hi. so like, I'm new here, and like, what do you guys do here to have fun? And that's how it kind of started. And then I got a taste of it and I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't so bad. And then it just, like, I could feel myself going back to like the essence of being me again. And I was like, oh my gosh, it feels so good. So from then on, anything that scared me, I was like, I'm going to face it head on. Okay, I have a fear of heights. Okay, what do? I jump off a plane. Okay, let's skydive. Let's do it. Like, I became that person that I was like, I'm afraid of that. Okay, I need to do it. Like, I'm going to figure out how I'm going to do it. So that kind of just became a part of me. And that's honestly what's helped me a lot to help a lot of the clients to face all that stuff, because I understand how they feel, but then I understand also how to get them, to the other side.
Do you have like a process? Do you have a process that you work on, or maybe a structure to, transform a client from being shy to being confident? Because I know when you mention confidence, for some people it feels like it's very broad, and sometimes you can also apply it. Let's say you're a father, somehow you lost your job, so you're not more confident when you're facing your kid, or you're not facing your wife or something. And confidence when you lose a job, you kind of go back to workplace, and so what is the structure? What does the structure look like, and what are tips and advice that you can share with our audience right now? And
yes, so I cannot say there's a specific structure. Why? Because everybody's so different. Some people that are in a different place in their life, and you said it exactly. I think it's teaching people how to get connected to their core, and then you go out into the world and do whatever it is that you need to do. Because just like you said right now, when you said it, like that father that, let's say he lost his job and now he lost his confidence. Why did you lose your confidence? Because you as a person haven't changed. So what is it? It's an external factor. So you were placing value in the title that you had, not in the person that you are. So it's like, oh, boom, they're like, ouch. Okay, how do I do that? Once you hit that point, then it's like, okay, how do I learn that no matter what happens externally, who I am inside does not change? And that is what you learn and you teach. And a thing that I think helps me go to sleep at night is, once I teach an adult and help them kind of get connected back to their essence again, they will now be able to teach their children. So when their child comes home to say, Mom, somebody bullying happened, this is what happened, they can use those same tools and use it with their children. Because it's going to happen. I mean, let's be honest. But I think for men and women, that's exactly what it is. Like, before I was, strong and I was fit and I was, in a competition. And then now I gained, like 10 pounds, and now all of a sudden my self-esteem is down the tubes. Why? Again, it goes back to you placed so much value and your identity became, that is the fit, healthy so-and-so, instead of the inside of who you really are. So every person is different, but I think at the beginning, we always find what area of your life is basically hurting you the most, because it affects it in all areas: mental, physical, career, business, relationships. So like even people that are dating, like if you don't feel good enough, like you can eat healthy and go to the gym all you want, but when it comes time to that, person that you're like, oh my gosh, that would be my person, you won't be ready for them, because you immediately you go back into that old version of you and you just can't get past it. So
is there like a discovery call that you do, or like discovery process?
I do. You know why? I think, and this is really important, I think for anybody who's looking to, whether it's a business coach, whether it's a life coach, whatever, as long as you need the help, I think you do need to have a discovery call with a coach to figure out if you connect with them, number one. And if you have kind of like the same values and the same style that will make you change, or that'll make you like excited to have that talk with them. I've had many people call and say, I've talked to 3 other people. I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do. And I honestly find that so awesome, because I'm like, okay, you're open, I need to find the person that's right for me. Like it doesn't mean that that person has more experience, that one has more, more certificates on the wall, like whatever. For some people, it's not about that. It's who can I trust to be able to open up and share what it is that's going on. And honestly, it's whoever, for anybody who's looking to get, a coach, to charge your worth, to do this, to do that, so many different things.
Yeah.
Find the person that you resonate with the most. Find the person that you're excited to talk to the most, the person that you can trust to say, I got your hand. I'm going to take you through this. Like, you're not going to go back.
Yeah, exactly. And let's say, like, obviously there's a lot of, factors when a person lost his confidence in some way. Is there like, factors, let's say right now in the workplace. So women, there's a common connotation that women should always have a desk job, maybe like a receptionist, an admin, an HR. What are your thoughts on that? And how do women can position themselves, as a leader and empower themselves, to stand up similar to those counterpart men?
Yes. So I read a book and I think it's called The Confidence Gap. And it's so good because it does talk about women and men and how, when a man, I'm not going to say every single one of them, you already know this is like, there's always an exception to the rule. So let's put that out there. Okay. Before everybody gets crazy on me. But yes, when I've had conversations with, even like when I've done keynote speaking and we're talking about that, a lot of the wives will say, when I'm trying to apply for a job or for a promotion, like I get so nervous, like, oh my gosh, okay, no, I'll wait. I need to have a little bit more experience. Like you question and you're like, you have a million different reasons why you cannot do it or why you shouldn't do it. And it's until you feel like, okay, I'm 100% ready. And then you want to go, right? As a woman. When they tell me, my husband, he wasn't even like sure he could do that job and he still applied for it and he got it, like things like that. And I was like, yeah, there is a confidence gap between men and women. And statistically, it is. A lot more women go into the desk job because it's, it's the safest thing to go. But if you think about it, that's from childhood. When a child is outside playing, what do you tell like your little boy? Like if he runs and gets dirty and hits himself, you're like, yeah, like celebrate it, like get out there. If a little girl goes and falls, the parents are like, oh my gosh, like she fell, oh, pick her up. Like make sure she's like, dressed in her little dress and she's sitting properly. When a little boy can go out and run and, be rambunctious, but that's normal for a little boy, right?
Yes.
But not for a little girl. So I think it starts from our own perception of what that is. When you see a CEO, when you see, in trading, for example, like, with stocks and like all this stuff, it's a male thing. But why? Because women are afraid of the numbers, we're like, maybe, okay, I know I'll be an accountant, like, no, like start taking steps to get out of your comfort zone, give it a shot, give it a try. Like it doesn't always have to be in that, but again, it goes back to aligning yourself to your true core. If somebody would have asked me, what do you really want to be? Like when I was in the university, if somebody would have even just asked me that question, it would have triggered for me to come up to say, you know what, I want to do journalism and like this and this, and then I would have said all the excuses why, but then at least somebody can still mold you. But nobody asks that anymore. Like, what is it that you truly want to do or be in this world? Not what everybody always, even when you network, what do? Oh, I'm an accountant, or oh, I'm my own business. I do podcast. It's like, you've now labeled yourself as that's who you are.
Yes.
And now you've stuck yourself in that little box of
on that identity, and
that is the identity that I have. Exactly.
Understood.
Exactly.
So let me ask you a question. If you can have another chance or another shot in life where you can be a journalist, would you do it?
Well, dang, you're putting me on the spot.
You talked about confidence,
right? I'm like, no, you know what? I totally would. I think I still do. I haven't given up on that. Honestly, I have not. And I think my first step was launching the podcast, where I'm like, when people used to videotape me before and then they would say, oh, watch your video, I would cringe. I was like, nope, I don't want to see it. Like, I don't care how I sounded. I went on, I went off, and bye. And now I'm like, when I listen back into, when I was listening to the podcast and I was cracking up and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that. Or, little things here and there. I thought, this is what makes me smile.
Yeah.
It's what fulfills me. There's a message that I have that can I use it to impact or influence change in people? Yes, it is. Okay, cool. So then I made it not about me, but about the impact that I can do. So I think that kind of like eased off the pressure a little bit of, you're on camera and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, even me, myself, I love to write, but I didn't take it. Most people don't know. I'm a nurse by trade, but I didn't practice.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
And how did that come about?
Yeah. So basically, we have a term called RN. So
yes.
RN is like registered nurse, but me is a rejected nurse because I didn't pass the boarding.
Oh my gosh.
But then I realized.
But are you doing what you want to do?
Now it's my time to be on the spot.
Now it's your turn to be on the spot.
Yeah, I pretty much love what I'm currently doing, especially on the podcasting. Because I think it was 2014 and 2015 where I worked in a publishing industry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I used to publish. So I was working as a project manager. So we conceptualized a magazine quarterly where we could, publish it and then have CEOs interviewed. But I was not the one interviewing. I was more on the commercial side of things. So basically, once the company said yes, then we interviewed the CEO and then featured them whatsoever. So it's similar with the CEO Middle East. And then 2015, I started my own company. And then it was around 2018 where I got fed up, where I told myself, I wanted to go back to publishing and interview CEOs or, this and that. Then I tried to launch my first online business magazine and it didn't took off. Like I was literally, every time I receive a press release, I just copy paste it and then post it on the website. And then people will think, can you interview this guy? I thought this is like a proper business portal magazine or something. Oh. But then again, for a magazine to be sustainable, especially in print or online, you need to have advertisers. I was trying to pitch for a sponsor, but nobody wanted to come on board. So I told myself, you know what, let's just forget this, because anyway, when you interview CEOs or any type of corporates, they have a certain guidelines. So they don't probably be open as much as we wanted to do. So I decided to just launch a podcast. And literally when I was teaching this on a masterclass, I showed them how I launched the podcast itself. In November, it was November 2018. I think I was on Spencer's event. So before launching, I just informed me like, can you be a guest on my podcast? I said, yeah, of course I'm gonna do it. But then I didn't have a podcast. I didn't have equipment. I didn't know how to do an intro or outro. And then what I did, I just posted it on social media like, hey guys, I'll be launching the Drive to Succeed on January 2019. Just stay tuned. But when you think about it, I didn't have anything. And now I have 4 weeks to study how to create a podcast.
I love it. I love it. But you took that, that chance. If you would have seen how I recorded my first episode, which I launched last week, you would be cracking up. But you know what? It goes back to how bad do you want it and what do you want to do? Like, I was like, what? Who cares? Doesn't matter that I have, the high-tech studio, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. No, I don't. So you know what? I just got to do it. And it's the Gary Vee mentality of like, just do it. Like, put it out there, put the content, get the episode out.
Yeah.
And, learning, how do I get this online? And it's stuff that's not familiar. When would I be doing that if I was in HR? Like, yeah, right.
Exactly.
But all of this kind of gives you that creativity. Like now, again, it goes back to the confidence of, if I can do this, I can definitely do this. And you know what? Even if it doesn't work out, I did it and I gave it what I had, and that's it. And then I move on to the next thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I always believe that when you're starting to create content, I'm an advocate of this, is that you just start doing it now, because anyway nobody will care, and nobody will consume your content, because you didn't have you don't have the right yet to be listened. You know what I mean? When like I mentioned earlier, when I'm doing live, even now nobody's watching. But on podcast, it was originally that way. There were like 5 listening. Maybe originally it was to me and my mom. No, I'm just kidding.
You're like, my mom was listening.
No. But what I'm trying to say is that, because when you start now, like if, for instance, if you listen to my first episode, it was so terrible. I sound sleepy. My voice is like crackling. My intro takes 2 minutes to get the point across. And, and literally, when I did this live on a master class, and the students were like listen to this first episode and listen to this recent one. I was like, yeah, I gotta do it.
But you know what? You're right. I think you build on your mistakes. I think a big part of it is that when you're listening to it, like, that's why when I did it, I didn't even want to post it. I was like, oh my gosh, like people are gonna tell me, like, what? Shut up. Like, nobody wants to listen to you. But I was like, you know what? And this is what really made me just say, I'm just going to do it, was my goal is that one person listens to it. If one person listens to it and it helps them, that is my goal. And that is what I did. And that is like every episode, I'm like, I'm going to focus on it helps one person. And crazy enough, when I posted about it, like 4 or 5 women just reached out and they said, thank you. Like, when's the next one? When I got that, I was like, I hit my goal, because it was one person. I'm like, if one person listens to it, I'm going to be a happy camper. But you're right. I think you're exactly right. If you want to do something, honestly, go for it and do it, because along the way you might fail, but it's never really failure. I feel like it's feedback.
Yeah. Exactly.
What can I do different on the next one, or on the next project? And honestly, that whatever happens, it's a next stepping stone for you to get to where you really want to go.
Yeah. And I think that's also one of the reasons where the more you do it, the more confidence it builds up to you.
Yes,
I just
100%.
wanted to segue back to the confidence, because I think we're just going out having fun on this podcast.
We're having fun, but it does tie back, and it takes practice. And that's why, when you ask me, do you have a structure? Mm-hmm. Yes, there are definitely pieces that are included, mm-hmm. but it doesn't mean your journey in that might be very different than somebody else. If somebody is prepared to face whatever it is that they're doing, mm-hmm. then great. Some people, it takes them a little bit longer. Yeah. And it's okay. Everybody has that, the journey that they're going on, but at least they know that they're moving forward.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm just really curious. We're talking about confidence. What is your greatest failure?
Oh my gosh! Out of how many? What list do you want to go on?
Or probably one of the things that made like a huge impact in what you're doing right now, or
Do you know what? I will tell you this. As much as I hate to admit this, no, I don't hate to admit it. It's a part of me that I'm like, ugh. I got a divorce, mm-hmm. and it was because of that it really made me think about me as a person. Mm-hmm. Like, after everything was said and done, that, even getting my own coaching, it was that moment of me. Like, it wasn't about me and somebody else, it was about me. And I really started looking at, like, I knew, my gut knew, but the fear said, just do it. Like, who cares? Like, don't listen to that right now. Yeah. And that's what really, I said, in my head, my worth, my value, everything, I knew it, but I didn't act on it. Mm. I knew that wasn't the direction I should have gone in. Yet the fear of what are people going to say, and the fear of what if I'll lonely forever, like all of that took power over what was really like inside of me, that I was like, oh, and that taught me a lot. Once everything was said and done, I honestly realized that it was the lack of self-confidence that I could find that person that I really deserved and that I wanted,
Mm-hmm.
that it made me not do that. And honestly, throughout my dating life after that, it just felt so different, because once you know that you have that within you, anything that comes your way that you know it doesn't align with you, it's so easy to say,
Yeah.
thanks, next. Like, you're like, I,
Yeah.
so,
There's a saying that if it's not 100%, hell yes, it's probably a no. So
yes, that's exactly right. But, and that taught me a lot. And that it was because of that it really made me look at the impact
Mhm.
that a lack of confidence in yourself can get you into that kind of, lifelong commitment that you're looking at, knowing deep down inside that it's not something. So I'm like, imagine if it made me get married. Imagine like people that are in positions that they know they don't want to be in, or that they feel like they deserve more, but they're too afraid to ask for the promotion or for the raise.
Yes.
It's like, like you're paying a price for not having enough confidence in yourself.
Interesting. Because I believe the one reason why people are not getting promoted is because, yeah, you're right, that they are afraid to ask, and they're always keep on waiting and waiting and waiting to get noticed, instead of
Yes.
presenting yourself like, hey, I can do this, or why don't you consider me for promotion, and in return this is what I'm gonna do for the company and this and that.
100%. 100%. I think that's the biggest misconception. And I mean, I say it for myself. When I knew, even in work, that, that was, again, I go back to like, when I put all the pieces together, it was that lack of confidence in myself. When, they were paying a director, 10 times more than they were paying me. But then when they let that person go, and then they said, hey, Nancy, now you're in charge of the whole US, over 800 employees, 600 employees, I can't even remember. And I was so afraid to ask for a raise. Like, I was like, well, before I was just in charge of like a little office, like of like, 5-10 of the employees. Now there's 600 and I'm not asking for a raise. I was like so scared. And I didn't ask. I just traveled. I did what I had to do. I was working like crazy.
Yeah.
And I was so afraid to ask, because what if they don't?
Exactly. And one of the things I always believe is that there's a power of yes, and there's also power of no. It's really funny that they're so contradicting in, like, for instance, if you wanted to get promoted, you need to say yes. But if you always say yes, then you end up saying no to the things that are not important. So what is the best time to say no? What are your thoughts on that?
Do you know what? Honestly, I feel like there is power in no when, for example, and this is a perfect example. Let's say you do go and ask for a raise.
Yeah.
And you're wanting, I'm just going to throw a number out there. You want $5,000 more.
Yeah.
When you go in and you haven't fully owned your worth, and yet they go in there and they say no, they say, sorry, no, we're not going to give you 5.
Yeah.
We'll give you 2.
What do you mean by that?
Like, they'll negotiate with you. So remember, if they would have said yes, we'll give you a $5,000 raise, you would have said yes.
Yeah.
But they said no, we cannot. We're not looking at a raise of 5,000, but we'll give you 2,000. You now have the power to say the no. Now it's that no is really that question that is like put up in the mirror for you to say, is this really what you want? No, it isn't, because you want the 5, and it's okay that no happened, because now you've done it, you've felt it. It's like almost when you feel the rejection of somebody and then you're like, okay, I got over it. You know what? The next one that says no, it's like, whatever.
Like
it's
how
not,
about it is to ask another, maybe.
yeah, and it's different, because you know what? That no could lead you or be redirecting you into the path that you should be going into.
Yeah.
If they say no to you, and then all of a sudden a company calls you to offer you something with them, guess what? Like, it's redirecting you into where you should be.
Exactly. So you mentioned about where you should be. What's next with you right now?
What is next? So besides the podcast, now that I'll be on, weekly episodes and doing that fun stuff, I'm actually working on the online program right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to give out the name or anything because I'm like waiting to get it all done and set up, but I'm super excited. It should be done within the next couple of weeks.
Sure.
The modules with their workbook and all of that. And I'm really excited because it's going to be all put in one place for you to go through and go at the pace that you would like.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has a different lifestyle, but
and the center theme of that is about confidence, yes?
Say that again?
The centered theme of that course or online workshop.
Yes, it is. It's building your confidence, your self-worth, and every benefit that it has in it. Every part of your life needs it. And I do all of the modules in the program will include even the kind of relationships that you have, even if you're a business owner, because it's what kind of clients do you want? What kind of relationships do you want to? What's your network? Like, do you want to hang out? Who are you attracting? A lot of it has to do with the confidence in yourself. Yeah, exactly. It really, really does.
Interesting. Yeah. Now that I think about it, most of what you do and most what I do are kind of similar, but different approach. So, and more is more about, I think what you do is more about mindset and tactical. How do you create that belief, and what are the things that are hindering you to make you believe that you are worth it? Because I believe that there's a lot of experiences, struggles, challenges that probably, might doubled out that one domino about your confidence, and somehow, your identity crashes, and I needed someone to make me feel complete again.
Yes.
There's one thing about Jerry Maguire, like, you complete me.
Yeah. You know what? That is so true. You're like, imagine like nowadays, I'm like, no, you don't complete me. You are a part of me, but you don't complete, where it's not this whole like independence rockin', thing. It really isn't, but it really is knowing that worth and not accepting anything less.
Mm-hmm.
So it's being okay with saying no, or accepting that no, or getting that no, because you know that there's something better on the other side.
Understood. So just a couple more questions. Who inspires you? Like, do you have mentors? Do you have, I don't know, because obviously you're a coach. Who coached Nancy? So who's your mentor?
Yes. Oh my gosh. So I started getting coaching from which she still is. One of them is Gina. She was
is she in LA?
In Idaho. Yeah. She still does coaching and development, but she kind of introduced me into really getting to know me a little bit more. So it started with her, and then obviously we became such good friends, and then becoming a part of her board of directors, and then it just continued after that. So she was, and still is, there's other people now that I have as far as mentors, like for example, like business mentor, where I'm like, okay, I need to understand money mindset and this and that and everything else. Like, I have a person for that. I have a person who does more of like on the spiritual side, a spiritual mentor. So, as I've grown to understand different things, you have different needs. Sometimes you don't need as much business, but you might need a little bit more on the spiritual side, or you might not need as much. So it's different, but I'm glad I have a very strong, reliable system around me that whenever I need it, I can always reach out. And honestly, for anybody who's listening, an investment in yourself is getting coaching. Doesn't matter who it's from. At least you're getting something, because that person is steps ahead of you, which is where you want to go. And so that hand holding into that direction is priceless.
Awesome. And I also believe that, the more you are performing on a high level, the more you need coaching. So you don't need a coach when you're struggling. You need a coach when you're better.
This is very true. This is very, very true. I feel like they hold almost, it's like the accountability. Like, if you want to be functioning at that level, that you need a coach to be, taking you into that place where you haven't been there. Mm-hmm. You don't know the perspective from that point of view. So you need somebody else to kind of guide you in that direction instead of you trying to figure it out on your own.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I feel like we can talk for hours and hours.
Oh, Oh no, but I hope everybody got at least an understanding of what it really is and the importance of it and how it impacts your life.
Exactly. So where can our audience find about your work? How can they hang out with you? Where they can find you?
Absolutely. So I'm mostly these days, I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Instagram. So the Instagram handle is at _confidence_catalyst. So I will have, I'm sure you'll have to like tag, tag me in there somewhere. And then also on LinkedIn, obviously, Dr. Nancy Haines, look it up. I do a lot of videos there, to kind of help people along the way, sharing tips and tools during these times, especially, which is good. Really, really good.
All right, awesome. So my last and final question to you, if everything is stripped away from you, so I don't know if you've heard this before. So if everything is stripped away from you, your business, your coaching, your books, your online courses, whatever, if everything is stripped away, what would be your main drive to succeed?
What would be my main drive to succeed? Oh, that's a good one. I don't have kids, so I can't really say it would be my kids. Usually parents are like, oh, my children. Yeah. What would be my main reason to succeed? You know what it would be? It would be for generational purposes. So I come from a Mexican background, and I feel like there's not a lot around us of people that we see that succeed. Mm-hmm. And for me, that would be my thing, that I would want to leave that legacy or that imprint to somebody to say, if she did it, I can do it.
Yeah. If Nancy can do it, then everybody.
If Nancy can do it, I totally can do it.
All right. Awesome. So I think, I just want to acknowledge you for sharing your journey with us today. And this is probably one of the best interviews I had during the lockdown. So. Yay! All right. So I'm just going to stop this recording. And thank you, everyone, for listening, and see you in the next episode.